You're listening to the Cookbook Love Podcast with Maggie Green, episode number 395.
Welcome to the Cookbook Love Podcast, a podcast that celebrates cookbook readers, buyers, collectors, writers, and clubs. And now your host, cookbook author, culinary dietitian, and cookbook writing coach, Maggie Green.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. How's everybody doing today? We are headed into Easter weekend, and if you have a ham in your future and a ham bone to go with it, you are going to want to listen to this episode. Today on the show, I'm talking with Hannah Dasher. Hannah is a country music artist and creator whose cooking videos took off on TikTok during quarantine. What started as sharing simple, nostalgic recipes turned into a loyal audience, and now a cookbook called Stand By Your Pan. As you listen, here's what I want you to notice about Hannah: how her personality, her storytelling, and the way she shows up all directly translate into her book, because that is how some cookbooks are happening now. In this episode, Hannah and I talk all about her approach to cooking, how she stocks her kitchen, and we walk through the chapters in her book with plenty of practical tips along the way, including what to do with that leftover ham bone. So as you listen, think about your own voice, your own recipes, and how you're showing up and being seen by people if you also want to write a cookbook. So without further delay, let's dive into this interview with Hannah Dasher. Hi, Hannah. Welcome to the Cookbook Love Podcast.
Hey, Maggie Green.
Nice to meet you. Great for you to be here. Why don't you tell everybody, before we start talking about your book, a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Well, if they don't follow me online, I'm an entertainer. I'm a country music singer, and I love to cook. And my TikTok kind of blew up over quarantine. Stand By Your Pan is a series that I started, and so we've just launched my cookbook. And when I'm not messing around in the kitchen, I'm touring the world, slinging a Fender guitar, and I write songs for other country artists that on the radio and things like that. And I'm always doing some fun little collaborations online with people like the Cornbread Cowboy, or talking about my hoochie grandmother who's been married 5 times. That series has recently gone viral, but I'm just me, girl.
That's right. And so you are getting ready to go on tour for a cookbook, which is different than going on tour for music, right?
Oh, yeah, very different. Let's rock and roll, but still fun.
Yes. So let's talk about quarantine, COVID times. When you started online, you started talking about food. What kinds of things did you start talking about and sharing that really got people excited about cooking in your kitchen?
I cut some joke about Tanya being easy, and that video just took off. It's just an easy, nostalgic, very simple cucumber tomato salad that we make in the summer back home. And I think people were just as taken by the avocado green canisters and the background. I'm a bit of a hippie, so I like to live in a time capsule and chasing this wild dream that is country music. I like to kind of escape that rat race when I come home. And so my kitchen pays homage to some of my favorite cooks, which were my grandmother. And so it's very 1970. My home is very much a kind of a honky-tonk. Great.
So you think it's possible that people were just as much interested in what they saw in your kitchen as opposed to just the recipes and the food that you were doing?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I think we pull people for all reasons.
Yeah, because it kind of then set people in a certain era, a certain decade. Let's talk a little bit about that decade and the food that you're cooking and what you tried to do in your brand new book, which you're getting ready to go out and talk about, Stand By Your Pan.
Yeah.
We're talking about the 1970s?
Yes, girl.
Yes,
not alive or thought of yet, but to look at me, I'm obviously a big Elvis fan. I love big collars and big Loretta fan. And when my grandmother passed away, the non-hoochie grandmother, I got all the things that nobody wanted, the like the Tupperware items and the Corningware, which is now worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's like niche. I mean, crazy.
Yeah.
Anyhow, and so instead of buying new things, I just added to that collection. My whole house is kind of like a honky-tonk museum, if you will. And through the years, I've collected some celebrity estate pieces, and I'll tell you that are sitting around that are fun. And I wanted to I want to keep some things alive, like the steel guitar and my music. I want to keep around, cold salads. I think it's just polite to serve them with a meal when it's, with every meal it adds color to your plate. And
Yeah.
so those are some things that we do in Stand By Your Pan. But the flavors and the recipes are not to be missed. They
Yes.
definitely hold their weight.
Yeah. So did you take a lot of the recipes from either of your grandmother, or are these things that you created on your own?
Yes, and yes, and yes. I wanted to include some recipes that went viral online, but some of my favorites. I wanted to obviously pay homage to both of my grandmothers. So the butter beans and dumplings that I grew up loving, that my nana made. I wanted that kind of in her words, and it's delicious. Butter beans and dumplings. What's not to love with a bunch of hog jowl in it? Yum.
Yes.
And then things like chicken pie that have been in the family for 7 or 8 generations.
Yeah. So one of the things that I noticed in the beginning of your book is you did have some really nice tips for people that want to cook or stock their kitchen. One of the things you said was how to stock a soul food kitchen. And there were 4 main things that you talked about. I thought it might be kind of fun before we talk about some of the specific recipes to go through these tips, because I think people will get a feel for the kinds of things that you believe in and what you're trying to do in your book. The first one is keep your bones. What do you mean by that?
Your bones. Well, when you go to a nice steakhouse and your skinny friend doesn't know, she orders the bone-in cowboy ribeye, if you will, and I always cart that up and take it home. I have one in my refrigerator from the other night, as a matter of fact, because I save my vegetables and I make stock out of things like that. So it makes really good rich stock or bone stock. But yes,
Yeah.
keep your bones.
Yeah.
When my great grandmother died, we found pork chop and rib bones in her pocketbook, as a matter of fact.
In her pocketbook.
In her purse, yes, in the closet. They did. They found. Yep, she kept bones.
I mean, I was expecting you to maybe say you found them in the freezer, not in her pocketbook.
Oh, she had them wrapped up. Well, she was in her 80s. I mean, I don't really know her. But yeah, wrapped up in napkins in her purse. Honey, she saved everything. And
Yeah.
I bet your grandma did too, Maggie.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that we should save the bones. I think you're right. It makes great stock. It's something we usually throw away. And a lot of times if you buy meat at the supermarket, you might think there's not even a bone in a chicken or in a piece of pork. Everything is boneless. But the bones are what have the flavor for the stock. So
yes. Oh, and rotisserie. I'm glad you mentioned that. But yes, rotisserie chickens are obviously they're amazing.
Yes.
And so I've got several bags, rotisserie bags of the carcass in my freezer now. Those are incredible for chicken stock.
Yeah. And then saving the vegetables, of course, goes along with that. Any the vegetable scraps that you want for making. Then you've got everything you need to make the stock. You also say keep your animal fat. Tell me about that.
Amen. Well, a lot of us meal prep these days and we use air fryers. And so all that grease that you catch at the bottom when you're making those chicken thighs, that's delicious. Chicken fat is one of the most flavorful fats that you can use. So and steak fat when we smoke a brisket or something, all that beef fat that gets rendered is really good. I save the fat, clean it, and then I cook that down.
Yes.
And I use that beef fat as well for gravies and
Yes.
all the good things.
Yes. And then the fourth one is store fresh frozen produce.
Yes, if you can. I mean, I grew up in the country and people were always bringing you things from their garden, or now we love farmers markets and things like that. So definitely if you can get it while it's available, and just I teach you how to blanch it in the book. You can blanch it and put it up in the freezer, and then you got fresh vegetables all year long.
Yep. So those 4 things really get you started in terms of having a foundation of things that you can do to make stock, to have animal fat on hand for flavoring, and then also, of course, the vegetables that go along with that. So let's talk a little bit about, I love to talk about the chapters in a cookbook. I think it's been one of the biggest improvements, not the right word, but over the years, as people have been writing cookbooks, how personalized not just the chapter titles are, but the recipe titles are. And I've noticed in your book, that's one thing that really stands out is the recipe titles. They are not just standard recipe titles. Some of them are, but let's talk about a few of them. Now, you have an appetizer chapter, obviously. What's your philosophy about appetizers? When do you serve them, or how should we serve them?
Well, whenever your guests arrive, I mean, I always have, and we talk about this in the book, but I always have a mealtime in mind. So depending on what that dish is and how long I'm going to need for it to come out of the oven, I like to have, something for them to nibble on. Or if people are just popping by, not for a meal, but just to come by and say, hey, because they haven't seen you in a minute, you can't not serve them a little bit of something.
Yes.
So, and anytime you serve alcohol, always have a nibble too. So
Exactly.
an appetizer is kind of a year-round weekly, item, like pimento cheese. You've always need to have that in the refrigerator.
Yeah. It's almost like something just to keep on hand. One of the things that I saw on the list is stuffed angel eggs. Now, we talk about deviled eggs, but you have to tell me about angel eggs.
Oh, heavens. Well, I don't associate with the devil, so we have to call them angel eggs. That's so funny. It was one of those recipes that went viral, one of those moments that went viral online. It's a simple deviled egg. I don't eat other people's deviled eggs because, people like to lick their fingers and they have kitty cats walk across their countertops and things like that. And that's not me.
Yeah.
But I thought girls my age and the Gen Z girls needed to know how to make good deviled eggs that we could all trust, and make them pretty.
Yes.
That's one of the little simple things that I thought would be easy for new cooks to follow.
What's the difference between those and the Get Your Man Scotch eggs?
Oh my goodness, a Scotch egg is heaven on earth. One of my debutante friends introduced me to those. She made them, and we photographed some of this. It was she as a neighbor, but we photographed this and part of these dishes in her home, which was next door to mine. I was in the guest house to their larger house where Waylon Jennings used to live, and Charlie Daniels. And anyway, but it's a soft boiled egg wrapped in little seasoned flour, and then wrapped in sausage, pork sausage, just a thin layer of that. Venison sausage is really great too. And and then breaded and good breadcrumbs. And I put a few extra things for texture in there, but and then it's fried.
Yes.
How could it not be good?
Exactly. And then we see shrimp, pecans, pizza dip if you must. I got to know about the pizza dip.
Heavens, or I don't like red velvet. The titles are fun. But I mean, again, I wanted this to be an interesting read, just like when I'm writing songs, I want to capture your attention. And so, but like pizza dip, I get tired of going to parties and, or Super Bowl things, and it's, you dip your chip into or the spoon, and it's just a big thick layer of cream cheese. Nobody wants to eat just a big old block of cream cheese.
Yeah.
So we doctor things up and put a bunch of pepperoni and things like that in there. And
Sounds good. Yep.
Yeah.
Very good. Soups and breads. Are you a soup person? You like to make soup? Sometimes.
I mean, when it's just me and I'm trying to keep a flat tummy, absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm definitely a bread person. You can look at me and tell.
Yes. And you have biscuits, beer cheese bread, cinnamon apple beer bread. Let's talk about the cat head biscuits. That's a type of biscuit that maybe people from the South have heard of. If people aren't from the South, they're not familiar with why they call a biscuit cat head.
Cat head biscuit. It's a great question. It's in the shape. It's kind of like they're almost triangular. They are. And mine are basically deep fried in lard. And so it makes this incredible, and they're oven fried, don't worry. So it's healthy, but it makes this incredible texture that is soft on the inside, and the crust is just chewy, and I can't even describe it.
Yeah.
But it's so good. And my editor, good old New Jersey fella who flies to Austria to study pastry chefs, flew down to Nashville to have some of these biscuits. So precious, and some of these dishes. And but yeah, it's I made them on Rachel Ray. You got to follow the directions specifically. I've got this pan sitting here because my last podcast I was just on.
Yes.
Make sure you're using an 8-inch by 2-inch cast iron skillet. That's one of those things to stock your kitchen with, folks. You will use cast iron forever, but this is a perfect size skillet for biscuits, for cornbread, for the almond pork, for frying eggs. You're going to use this for a lot of stuff, but make sure it's this size specifically. 2-inch by
indestructible. Virtually.
Yeah, but what you cook it in has so much to do with the texture and the end result. I've seen people tag me and try to make the biscuits, and they'll make it in a pan that's too large, and there's a science behind getting a good biscuit, and you know that.
So you said that was the 8-inch wide.
Yep, the
8 by 2.
Yep, a number 3.
Yep,
cast iron skillet should be 8 inches, and it's not the short one; it's the tall, the 2-inch. Yep, 2 inches tall.
Wonderful. And it does get a great lot of heat from a pan like that.
Oh yeah,
nice crust, and it does do a tremendous job with biscuits and with cornbread both. It's wonderful.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Very good. And you have some from scratch chicken soup, cream of mushroom soup, and you also have
cream soup.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, directions also for making the stocks that you have the bones in your freezer, the chicken stock and the beef stock.
And ham stock too. A lot of folks they underestimate a ham bone. And anyway, I love good ham stock. And even if you don't bake a ham, I also teach you how to make a ham stock out of just a ham base as well. So it's just good and rich because that's what we use to flavor a lot of vegetables. And don't just put water in your peas, darling. Use ham stock. Again, this is going to be flavor packed soul food. So because I've traveled the world, I've traveled a lot of places. I'm not an expert by any means, but I understand all soul food's not created equal. Mm-hmm. And so, in my humble opinion, I've put together what I think is the best versions of these soul food classics that you're going to have. And I've added some other fresh things in there too.
And with Easter being here around the time this podcast comes out, it's possible people do have a ham bone in their freezer or around the house that they could definitely use to make ham stock, because ham is one of those things that you might not have it all the time, or you might not have it only for certain times of the year, but the bone is really, truly one of the best parts of the ham.
So, yes, like at Christmas time, save that ham bone and make your collard greens with it for New Year's Day. I mean, 100%.
Yes. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the salads and the dressings. There's quite a variety of salads, vegetable salads, pasta salad, potato salad. Of course, we got to talk about potato salad.
Did I put potato salad in the book? Why did I do that? I don't even remember doing that. Good heavens.
Let's talk about potato salad, proper potato salad, and the strawberry pretzel salad.
Oh, one of my favorites.
So the proper potato salad, it says in the South, the fastest way to get judged is to bring store-bought potato salad to a meal.
I remember that. Well, I didn't think about it. Nobody likes, can't do that. It's easy to make. And, I cut the potatoes in like 2-inch cubes, because if you cut them in 1-inch cubes, you'll cook them all to pieces. I'm pretty specific, I believe, on directions there. But yeah, they're really, really great. The secret to any good salad, like chicken salad, potato salad, egg salad, is those 14-day sweet pickles. And so I don't want folks to really sleep on that recipe. It would be a great project to make, to do with kids or with your sister, or with your husband. It'd just be a really fun project to do this summer. And you will keep them, and you'll use every last jar.
Can we talk a little bit about the sweet pickles since you mentioned them? What does it mean, 14-day?
Well, it's an old recipe. It's just what makes a potato salad taste so good. A lot of folks put sugar in their potato salad. You don't need to do all that when you've got a really good, flavorful pickle. They've got alum, and it's is it the Kirby?
Yep, Kirby cucumbers. Yep,
I believe is the variety.
Yep.
But if you can get them from somewhere where they're locally grown, and good soil that's not been, excuse me.
Bless you.
That hasn't been mass produced, you're going to get a really great, flavorful vegetable.
Yep.
And it takes, honestly, about 16 days to make these. They're called a 14-day sweet pickle because that's how long they're in that brine. But my grandmother, I just remember growing up every summer, she had that big crock, that McCoy, big old crock with the cheesecloth over it, the towel, and you keep a plate on top of them to keep them weighted down in that brine. But there's about 5 pounds of sugar, but a lot of pickles, so it's fine. But they make incredible gifts. You don't have to can them because they're already pickled. You just put them in clean jars and keep them on the shelf, keep them in the fridge. They make incredible relish for hot dogs, and they just really kick your chicken salad up a notch. It'll hurt people's feelings.
Yes. And I think that it's a great thing to point out that adding something like that you don't need to put the sugar in when you have something like that. And it does make a great gift. I think that canning's had a little bit of a resurgence. People are interested in it again because I think they see this. It's a process that you don't do all the time, but it's really not that hard to do, to take the time to do it. Now, you do have to get the alum powder, and you need to probably get the canning jars, but those things are readily available.
Absolutely. And right there in the little, the seasoning, the spices section in the grocery store, they'll have pickling spice. and that alum. But the flavor of those pickles, I've not had any outside of the Low Country where I'm from in that Georgia Carolina region. But when you pair that with that pimento cheese, one of those pickles with that pimento cheese, I can't. It's just, it's heavenly. You know,
Yes.
like when blue cheese marries candied ginger, for all you food snobs, that you can't describe that. Whoa, what is this? Anyway, it's an amazing
Yeah.
pair.
Yeah. So which grandmother taught you or made the pickles?
The non-hoochie grandmother, the one who's
The one whose house you live in, right? Whose furniture you got?
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, the house is in Georgia, but I live in Nashville. But yes, a lot of the furniture that you see is was from the
Was hers.
non-hoochie grandmother. Nana left so many husbands. Nana left most of her stuff behind. So
She just went on to the next person she was marrying.
she did not stand by her man, but
No.
she would stand by her pan.
So let's talk about strawberry pretzel salad. A lot of people that don't live in the South might not have ever heard of this. Tell us a little bit about it.
Oh my goodness. It's a buttery, slightly sweet baked pretzel crust. And then, of course, you have to have a good old sweetened cream cheese layer, you know, with the powdered sugar and the cream cheese and the vanilla and a little bit of heavy cream whipped in, or Cool Whip if you're pressed for time. I'm not a big Cool Whip person. I like to make my own whipped cream. And then the sliced strawberries that are in the sugar, in the syrup, or you can make your own with a little strawberry jello on top. It makes a beautiful salad. It's so delicious. You can even make it with raspberries, preserves, and raspberry, frozen raspberries if you wanted to. But it's just something that we had at Christmas because it was red and it was the cold salad that we always went with our Christmas prime rib and our greens and our potatoes and whatever we had.
And that's a little bit of saltiness in that pretzel crust is really good with all the other sweet stuff that's in it, with the fruit topping. It's very, very good.
Yes, who doesn't love cream cheese and strawberries? It's so good.
It is really good. Now, there's growing up in Kentucky, that's where I grew up.
Oh, really?
Tomato aspic was always on the table at my Aunt Eileen's house, and I can't honestly say I've seen a ton of cookbooks with tomato aspic in it. Would you be willing to share about your shrimp and tomato aspic?
Absolutely. It's one of those things that it runs off small children. You know, it's one of those things that only the adults.
Yeah, the kids aren't always into it.
The kids are not going to eat it. And so I included this for humor, but it makes a beautiful
and this probably tastes pretty good. It has tomato soup. You know, you say that you included it for humor, but it's probably good.
Oh, it absolutely is delicious.
Exactly.
Yeah, a little lemon sauce, a little tomato, like that condensed tomato soup. It's got a little bit of like cream cheese in it as well, and of course you have to use gelatin so that it keeps its pretty shape. But paired with some boiled shrimp, which are obviously seasoned. Please don't serve anything they didn't season. It pairs really, really well. It even goes well with, like, if you do lump crab meat and cocktail sauce, and a little bit of that on the side with your butter knife. It's absolutely delicious. And you don't have to have a bundt pan or a salad mold for it. You can put it in a casserole dish and cut it into squares and then serve it on some bibbed lettuce, some buttered lettuce for presentation as well too. Each slice on a piece of lettuce as well. It's still pretty.
Yeah. Your tomato aspic has plain gelatin and some cream cheese in it. So it's a lighter, pinker color. My aunt made it with lemon jello and the tomato soup, but no cream cheese.
Really?
So it was like red, like the tomato pretzel salad red.
Oh, wow.
Talk about running off small children. We'd be like, what in the world?
Well, it's one of those things that's like, ooh, I don't think that'd be good. But I mean,
it was good.
Pate as well.
Yeah. My mom would say, you have to try everything. So we tried it. And actually, we became very fond of it. And it was we always knew her ham dinners were going to have that. So
really?
We missed it when she was not around anymore.
See, there you go. It's just, it's one of those things. Again, it brings back memories for you. And that's the very reason that it's in this book.
Correct. And with shrimp, I'm sure it's
and
really
cool
good.
Carrots, golly, the copper pennies. So good.
Yeah. Tell us about copper pennies.
Copper pennies, cool Carrots. It reminds me of my Aunt Jackie. What an amazing woman, that World War II generation. She could always make something out of nothing. And I crave these every spring. They keep in the fridge for weeks. Like they keep for a long, long time. It's that the old recipes would call it Wesson oil, but you can use olive oil. A little bell pepper, again, using that condensed tomato soup. It's great in recipes. And obviously a little bit of sugar and vinegar and some things, a little onion. And it just makes these amazing pickled carrots. It's just pickled carrots. And you cut them into slices, and so we call them copper pennies. And you keep them cold. So my grandmother called them cool carrots because they weren't served warm.
Yes.
Cool. So, but cool carrots is what Grandma called them. Delicious.
Very nice.
It's really good. I encourage you to make them. They're kind of addicting.
Yes. All right, let's talk about the main dishes. We've got everything in this chapter, from beef roast to pork chops, chili. Tell me about your meatloaf. I always love to hear people's recipes for meatloaf because everybody does it a little bit different.
And I was like, well, Ma, the meatloaf, right? I did a little Will Ferrell nod there, but I love breadcrumbs, and I've always soaked my breadcrumbs in canned milk. It just makes it a little rich. I don't want it to absorb the grease of the meat because I kind of want to keep that. I want the moisture to remain, in the beef itself, so that it stays soft and yummy. And because I'm always watching my figure, I use ground turkey. You can use ground chuck. Obviously, it would be great. But yeah, so the breadcrumbs for me are important. And then I saute my veggies, my little green bell pepper and my onion. I was raised by Black women and white women, who are all amazing cooks. And so like my Aunt Joanne, one of my aunties, used a lot of bell pepper in her dishes. And so I like the flavor of bell pepper. A lot of people don't.
Yeah.
You can leave that out. But anyway, it's just a basic meatloaf. I mean, it's just full of flavor. They have to get the book,
Yeah, that's right. Everybody loves
tomato
meatloaf.
paste or whatever you got. Ketchup if you don't have it,
Yep. Very good. So there's another recipe that's in here that I find, I have to say I don't see a lot, but I think it's always very good if people make it, as fried chicken livers.
Oh my gosh, yes. So don't underestimate a chicken liver. And I encourage people to try what they don't like. Try that recipe.
Yes.
So we every Christmas Eve, I mentioned Christmas 3 times, good heavens, but we have brunch somewhere after Christmas Eve service at Wesley Monumental, downtown Savannah. And so we like to support Vic's on the River. It's a place in Savannah. And they served an appetizer to us one time that was fried chicken livers. And it was the gravy that it was with. It was some kind of it had port wine in it. And I thought, you know what? I need to go make something like this. This will be delicious. And so if you don't do port wine, I think Bing cherries and the juice from Bing cherries would be delicious. If you don't like livers, duck breast would work really well too with this port wine sauce. But serve it over grits, or if you're watching your figure, some mashed cauliflower. But it is so rich and delicious with the onions and the, add a little unsalted butter, of course, at the end so that they think we know what we're doing.
Yes.
But
always helps.
It's so good. Yeah, I think I use Bing cherry juice, or I just, I just use a lot of port wine, which is a sweet red table wine, basically. If you don't have port wine, use what you've got. If you don't, if you've even got a bottle of Merlot or Cab going, that needs to be used, use that and just add a little sugar to this gravy. It will still be delicious.
Yeah. And, it's so different than beef liver. Beef liver is a slice, but because chicken livers are smaller and they're like these little nuggets, when you bread them and you cook them, you just get that coating all around it, and then you put the gravy on it. And it's maybe something that I probably haven't cooked them in years, but they're so good when you cook them like that. And you get a nice seasoned flour, and there's nothing like it. But they are rich. Like, it's just the texture and the consistency and the flavor of the liver itself is rich.
It's rich. It's rich. And people dry them out easily too. And so the technique that I tell you in here, like we poke them with a fork, to tenderize them a little bit. It's just some things that I picked up from some of my soul food friends.
Yeah. So they don't get too dry when you cook them, correct?
They don't get too dry, but also so they absorb some of that flavoring too. And, you got to let your stuff rest on a rack if you want a pretty fried product. So I let them rest on a rack and think about what they did.
Yes, that's right. You sit there and think about it. And before we enjoy eating the chicken livers, they're very good. I used to, fun fact, work at Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Did you
I
really?
did in high school. And we wore these brown polyester uniforms. And I was one of the cashiers. And there was a gentleman that came in every Sunday after church, ordered a fried chicken liver dinner every single week. That was his thing.
That's
little cup of mashed potatoes and gravy, side of coleslaw, and chicken liver dinner.
That's coleslaw. I love y'all's coleslaw. I had to put my daddy's in this book, but KFC coleslaw. One of my girlfriends sent me who's from Kentucky.
Yes,
sent me the recipe. It's so good. Did you happen to get the 11 herbs and spices written down?
Well, that's one of the things that's kept under lock and key, kind of like what's in that syrup for Coca-Cola. Nobody really knows. No.
I think it's in white powder. Columbia, but that's what they put in it. But
yeah, that's always very good. And I think the seasoning and the flour for a lot of dishes like that, fried chicken and the chicken livers, it's all about the seasoned flour. I use Kentucky Colonel seasoned flour when I would make chicken livers. The other fun, Warren, my husband grew up, his mother made milk gravy all the time. I know how to make it, but I don't make it. And I probably can count on one hand the number of times since we've been married that I ever made milk gravy. But if I was going to make it tonight, it would be to serve with chicken livers.
Really?
Or I'd have to try your port wine gravy because that sounds good too.
Yes, or just do a brown gravy, drain the drippings and, fry some onions in that. And, that good old fried liver grease makes them delicious, especially with that homemade stock you're going to have sitting.
Exactly. You've got me all stocked up and now I can make my own. But we took a little detour down chicken liver lane there. But if you guys haven't cooked them, people that are listening haven't eaten, they're worth trying one time. They really are.
You don't underestimate the chicken livers.
Yes. Okay, one more thing in the main dish section. Tomato pie.
Yes.
Why do we have a pie about tomatoes? Well, because of the South, right? It's all about these
because
tomatoes.
We have tomatoes coming out of our ears if we're growing tomatoes, and we gotta come up with reasons to cook them or right. So why not? And if you don't grow tomatoes like me, I'm too busy to have a garden because I'm touring all the time. The Campari tomatoes that you can find at the grocery store make wonderful tomato pies. And if you are a vegetarian, you don't have to go with the bacon in this recipe, but you got to have a little bit of bacon if not. And I'm a fan of use whatever cheese is in your refrigerator. So Havarti, farmer's cheese, sharp white Vermont, all work well, even mozzarella. Parmesan, I do a little shake. A lot of tomato pie. The difference between this tomato pie and what you're going to find at like your church dinner or what maybe you might have grown up with, and it's a technique that I adopted from my mother. I don't like a soupy tomato pie. So in addition to sweating those tomatoes on the countertop with your paper towels, we also put a layer in my recipe. We put a heavy layer of breadcrumbs on the bottom of that pie dish, and that helps to absorb some of that moisture so that you get a pretty cut whenever you cut into that slice.
Yeah. Otherwise it is too moist. The tomatoes, the moisture has to come out somehow. And if you haven't drained them, and even if you have, you still sometimes have extra juice that it's just too much. So that's a great tip. Very good. That's what I love about cookbooks is we get to pick up tips. And that was something you said your mother taught you?
That's what my mother taught me. Yes. How to sweat tomatoes and put a little breadcrumb on the bottom. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. All right, the sides chapter. I think that we probably could write a whole Southern cookbook just about side dishes, right?
Woo!
Yes. Now you have everything from coleslaw to potato casserole, garden peas,
butter beans and dumplings,
squash fritters.
Yes.
Grits and Savannah red rice. So what should we start with?
Oh my goodness.
How about your daddy's coleslaw? What makes it daddy's coleslaw?
Oh, heavens. Well, because he's a great cook and he makes a really great coleslaw. There's a fried chicken place that I grew up with in town called Blockers, and they always made the best coleslaw. Those ladies made the best, and they loved my daddy because I have their phone number memorized. We all did because we gave him so much business, and they gave him that recipe before they closed.
Oh.
And so this is, it's not quite as sweet as theirs. Anyway, and I put a little bit more onion in mine, but this pays homage to them. And my daddy, I wanted him to have a recipe or two in this book.
Yeah, I think it's great. Not everybody has parents that cook. Of course, but maybe not uncommon to think that our grandmothers might have cooked. Maybe our mothers cooked, but to have a father that cooked and shared recipes, I think it's kind of neat because often, my dad didn't, but if he were, I can imagine it would just be like a few things that he would have enjoyed making or was known for making.
Really?
One Thanksgiving, he decided he was going to try to cook some things about my mom was like, what in the world are you doing? He's like following
Oh,
the recipes and trying to like do it exact. And, she had cooked Thanksgiving for 35 or 40 years and didn't have to look at a recipe, but he kind of took a little bit of an interest in it.
I think
I,
that's darling.
I know it was kind of sweet at the end.
I love a man that likes to help cook as long as he likes to help me clean.
Exactly. That's the other thing. You got to clean up the dishes. Tell us
Yeah.
about Savannah Red Rice. You grew up in South Carolina. You said
Georgia. Yeah.
Georgia, but near
Near the state line. Yeah, we could throw it back to South Carolina.
Right. So what about the Savannah Red Rice?
So this was made popular by a place called the Pirate's House, where my hoochie grandmother, the one that's gone viral, the hoochie Nana, used to wait tables. And it's just good old. It starts with fried bacon, and you render that fat, and you saute your trio. If you've got celery, onion, bell pepper.
Yep.
In that, if you don't have celery, don't use it. And then again, this is just it's really a poor man's dish. It's something that you could whip up quickly. You save that grease, that fat. You add a can of diced tomatoes, and you rinse that can out with some water, literally, and add some white rice and that that bacon. Let that sit on the countertop. Don't throw it away, but just put the lid on, cook it, and then add the bacon, fold it in. A little bit of sugar, salt, pepper. Sugar makes everything better, doesn't it?
It does help bring out some of the flavors, just like a good, nice pinch of salt does also.
Yes, but you could serve that with, it's just a way to kick up your tomatoes and rice, if you will. So, any kind of pork dish, fried chicken, it's just a yummy, yummy side. Use up some old bacon.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that part of the country, how much rice-based dishes there are.
Well, there are rice plantations down there. That's what we had. And so everything growing up, we ate everything over rice. Beef stew was over rice, or peas over rice, gravy and rice. There was always rice at the table. And my parents grew up that way. And I don't cook rice as much up here because I'm obviously trying to stay pretty on camera, or trying to be, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's rice makes you pretty. That's what the old folks say.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
If not rice, I use grits as well. So like with our beef stew, we'd have that on rice over, for Sunday dinner, which dinner means lunch in the South. And then for breakfast on Mondays, we'd have that leftover beef stew with that yummy brown gravy over grits.
Yeah.
We don't put sugar in grits. So
no, we didn't either. We just grew up with no sugar. No. I think it's funny. Some people do put sugar in it. I'm not really sure about that. No. You have proper grits in your book. What makes them proper, other than the fact no sugar, right?
Right, yeah, there's no sugar in them. But I just don't like bland, watery grits. And so in the book, I just teach you how to get the most flavor, rich, creamy, hangover food you're ever going to eat, I think. Throw some white cheddar in there, too, in addition to some other things. And, it's just really, Sean Brock's got it figured out, I think, Ford fry and the meat.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I love that. Some people like to put cream cheese in their grits. We don't do that. Yeah. But just good old cream.
Good old grit. Yep. Yeah. All right. Well, no meal would be complete in the South without dessert.
Mm-hmm.
So all kinds of dessert recipes, cakes, crumbles, puddings, pies, and Buc-ee's Blondies.
Well, that was my desperate grab for a Buc-ee's endorsement.
Did it work?
We'll see. They want a big old chunk to keep the book there on their shelves, but everybody else has been giving us a lot of love, so I'm tickled that to have the book everywhere.
Yes, and then tell us about Naomi's possum pie.
Oh heavens, Naomi Judd. Obviously in the music industry, and I was on the red carpet a few years ago, the CMA or the CMT Awards. I was on the red carpet, and Winona and Naomi were being honored that night, and they were coming up behind me on the carpet. And Winona goes, Hannah, Mom and I have been watching your videos during quarantine. We love Stand By Your Pen. She's like, can I want Mama to meet you. Will you come get a picture with us? And of course, I could have died.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, Lord. And I was a little bit heavier then, so I had my wig was a little more exaggerated, just to to distract your attention from, my heaviness. Anyway, but the first thing that Naomi says to me, and I'm going to quote her, but she goes, "Bitch, you better snatch that wig off of your head. I'm supposed to have the tallest hair here."
Oh,
it was hilarious. It was wonderful. But of course, she died a couple of weeks
she
later.
did.
She did,
Yes.
and that just touched my soul. And she loved to cook as well. So I wanted to include. I thought the possum pie is a wild title, but it's just a chocolate delight. And and I make mine with heavy cream because I don't like store-bought whipped cream.
Yep.
But it's a good old Southern classic that I want to keep around.
Sounds terrific. Well, what do you have planned for your book tour?
Oh, and don't sleep on the 8-layer cake. That's one of those recipes that's dying. It is difficult to make. I didn't make the one that you see in the book. Our sweet little chef did that, so please don't judge. But it was obviously her first time too. But I know she. Anyway, all that to say, these are lots of easy recipes. Some of these are for your more experienced cooks as well. But don't sleep on that 8-layer yellow cake. I set out to try to beat the boxed cake, the yellow cake, and try to make the most flavorful, yummy, moist yellow cake, in my opinion, that you could make. And so this is that.
And it says stacked 8 to 14 layers high.
Correct. Depending on how much batter you make and how much time you've got. But yeah, this my recipe makes 8 thin layers, and I have like 4 cake pans that I just rotate.
Mm-hmm.
In the oven, I have a double oven.
Yep.
And so I just rotate, in no time, and they bake in no time. It just takes a few minutes each layer, but it's that good old cooked fudge icing. You can really taste the sugar granules, when you bite in it.
Yeah.
It's just, it's just a good old. We had to order this from an old lady that lived like an hour and a half away. Growing up, not everyone makes these, and so I wanted to learn how to do it. Yeah. So that old lady, Miss Aunt Annelle, she's dead now, and so I just.
Yeah. And some of these recipes, if people don't continue to make them, they will die. They will die out. People they won't know how to do it. They won't see anybody ever making it. So it is important to try to keep some of these recipes alive. Absolutely. And I know there's bakers that are out there that are listening that would like to take on the challenge. So dig in to Stand By Your Pan and make the 8-layer cake. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. So what's planned for the book tour?
Yes. So we've been to Austin and Seattle, and where have I been? Tucson. I'm going to be at the LA Book Festival, Book Fair. Am I saying that right?
I don't know. It's probably one or the other, huh?
Yes, but I'm excited. At the LA Times Book Fair, the big book thing that they do, I'm really excited to go there. I'll be doing a live activation. I'm not sure what I'm making, either collard green dip, or we might be making some cat head biscuits for my skinny friends out in LA.
Yes.
I'm so excited about that. So, and I'm headed up to New York tomorrow morning. I'm going to talk food and rock and roll and all things with Large at Barstool Sports. So Barstool's going to be a lot of fun. And then we play Got Share Hall that night. And so I encourage folks to bring their books. If you miss me at a signing, because a lot of times those are, we have those at Barnes & Noble, and they're usually at like 5:30, and that's hard for folks to get through traffic and get there. So come to a show. That's usually like at 8 p.m. Come to one of my shows. Bring your book with you, and we may have some copies available at merch as well, but I will sign them for you. I'll stand in line for an hour or 2 hours, and I will sign books for people and take pictures with you. So if you didn't get a signed copy, you can get it on a show.
Yeah. Wonderful. That's great. People bring your own books if you have one, and Hannah will be happy to personalize it and sign it for you.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about where people can connect with you online.
Thank you, Maggie. Go to Instagram. I'm at Hannah Dasher, HannahDasher. Facebook. Same title, Hannah Dasher. On TikTok, it's Hannah Damn Dasher. YouTube, I'm on YouTube as well. Or just go to hannahdasher.com. But the tour schedule is posted everywhere on the socials, and they can find me as well wherever they stream music. I've got a Pandora station on Amazon and Spotify and Apple and all those things. So
wonderful. Very good. Well, they'll be able to connect with you and enjoy your brand new book, Stand By Your Pan. 100 easy and affordable comfort food recipes so good they'll hurt people's feelings. Right? Well, I wish you nothing but the best with your book. I think you have combined the best topic ever with music, and that's food. Yeah. And now a book. So enjoy all of it, all the people that you get to meet, and we wish you nothing but the best with your endeavors this spring and summer promoting your new book.
Maggie, you are a queen. Holler if you ever want to come to a show. We'd love to have you.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you so much, and I wish you nothing but the best. Have a great time
out there
on the road. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today for this episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. Again, all the links can be found in the show notes at www.cookbooklove.co. And if you are interested in writing a cookbook of your own, please check out the free cookbook writing masterclass called How to Get Paid to Write a Cookbook. It is designed specifically for food or nutrition experts, and you can check that out at www.cookbookwritersacademy.com/free. So that's it for today's episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. This is your host, Maggie Green. And until next time, have a great day and keep loving your cookbooks.
Thanks for listening to the Cookbook Love Podcast. You can find out more information at www.cookbooklove.co.